If it will go. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back once again to the Great Scott Podcast. And I am joined by plastic surgeon and from the hit TV show Botched on E, Mr. Dr. Terry Dubrow. How's it going, Terry?
It's great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on to the program. I love Botched. It's a great show. You and Paul do fantastic.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's really challenging. We're in our eighth season, and I'm just hoping to do more. We're the number one show on E, which is crazy.
Number one, yeah. Speaking of the show, you were a little hesitant to start doing a show at first when you were presented the idea. What was it that changed your mind on it?
So Paul gave me a call, and we had been working together for a long time, and he said to me, "Hey, you do a lot of revisional surgery, so and I. Why don't we do a show about fixing failed plastic surgery?" I said, "You want to take the highest risk cases with the most possibility of failure and put it on national television?" I go, "What's going to happen when we fail, when we have complications?" And they show that. And I said to him, "Let's do a show about fixing congenital deformities and trauma." And he goes, eh. So we pitched both shows. Of course, he loved the disaster show. So that's the one they picked up.
Oh, gotcha. And you and Paul have actually been working together or actually maybe known each other for over 2 decades.
Yeah. So Paul's a facial plastic surgeon and I'm a head to toe plastic surgeon. And he used to ask me to do the body work in his office. So in the earlier part of our careers, I used to do a lot of the body work, but I was just too busy. I'm in Orange County. He was in Beverly Hills. I was too busy to go up there anymore. But he was on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills as a husband. I was on the Real Housewives of Orange County as a husband. And then he pitched to the producers this show, Botched, and we met with them. And Paul and I ended up having this really great chemistry based on our old friendship. So it's amazing because I remember we were in New York and the show came out, and instantly the Twitter feed just blew up. And I thought, maybe we've got something here. And it was an immediate hit. Within 2 episodes, they picked up another season and picked up a new show called Botched by Nature, which was the original show I wanted to do about fixing congenital deformities.
Amazing how things work out, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I think you might have mentioned it a little bit there in your last answer there, but how did you and Paul meet originally?
So I am a little bit older than Paul, and I was a plastic surgeon in Orange County, and his mom and sister came in for a consult. He had this wonderful mother who's passed away now, and I ended up operating on her. And at the time, it was very successful. And Paul was in his residency at USC, and his mom said, "Oh my gosh, you got to meet my son. He's a great kid. He's going to be a plastic surgeon." And then she introduced us after she healed, and the rest was history.
Oh, and here you guys are 2 decades later doing a hit TV show.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
So did you guys ever get it figured out when you guys have the plastic surgery, going back to your original reason as to why the TV show shouldn't happen? Did you get all that figured out? Like what happened when you guys?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so we got the show picked up. I was very concerned that these really difficult cases, you have to understand when someone's had multiple previous plastic surgery operations, the chance of fixing them is very low because the blood supply isn't very good to the tissue. There's a lot of scarring. The area is just it's like planting a seed in soil that doesn't have very good hydration or very good fertilizer in it. It just doesn't work very well. The plant doesn't grow very well. And so we were very scared in the beginning. We tried to take cases that were obviously extreme cases, but had a higher chance of success. And what's funny is, as the show has gone on and we've gotten better, we now take practically every case. It's interesting. Plastic surgery is one of those things, like it's almost like a sport in a way. The more you do something, the 10,000 hour thing, the more you do something, the better you get at it. But nobody really gets good at doing revisional high risk plastic surgery because nobody has a primary practice doing nothing but that. But when you have a TV show like Botched and it's on in 164 countries, you get particularly good at doing what nobody does, which is this high risk. And so, you can do it now. And I mean, by the 8th season, we can do stuff that we wouldn't even try to tackle in season 1.
Wow. So you had mentioned how it's kind of tough to do plastic surgery. What's been the hardest patient that you've ever had come in to do plastic surgery? Is there one that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, we've had so many, but there was one in the 2nd season who, there's these fillers that people get injected in their face to plump up their face. And normally when you go into a doctor's office, they use FDA approved filling materials that are known and have biological predictivity. But sometimes people will go to like hotel rooms or back alleys and they'll have non-licensed individuals, practitioners, inject illegal substances they got from like a hardware supply store. And so there was this woman in the East Coast who went to this, they called her the madam or something, and she injected caulking material from a plumbing supply store, same stuff you put between tile, right,
Yeah.
into this woman's face. And at first it was okay, filled up the face, made her look okay. And then after a period of time, the body started to overreact to it and form these big, what are called granulomas, these inflammatory nodules. And she basically looked like the Elephant Man with these huge masses all over her face. And so it was a disaster. And so she went to a bunch of plastic surgeons who said, I'm concerned that if we try to take those out, it'll just make it worse. The body will just fight it further. So everybody turned her down. So we turned her down season 2. But then I thought about it. How can I let this person walk around like this for the rest of her life? And then I had an epiphany about 4:00 in the morning. About 8 months later, I thought, why am I trying to remove all of it? Why don't I just remove part of it and make it so you can't see and just leave the top and bottom layers intact so that the skin doesn't die and the nerves below it don't die? And I took an orthopedic saw device and I just sawed out the concrete in between and left the top and bottom layer on top of her bone, and it just felt like bone, and it ended up working, and she felt great.
Wow. How long did that whole thing take you to do?
So I did a little experiment first. I brought her into the operating room and I took one that was in a really sort of low risk area in the chin. There's no big nerves in there. The skin's really thick. So even if it went badly, it wouldn't be that big a problem. And under just a little bit of local anesthesia, I numbed up the chin area where there was a big mass and I took it out. And then I sewed it up and I waited to see whether her body flipped out at that. Because the concern is, if you take out a foreign body, the immune system is going to go, okay, now we're really mad. And it's going to really tear up that area with inflammatory reactions. And she healed beautifully. And I said, okay, let's go. So I took her to the operating room, I think 6 weeks later, put her under anesthesia and lifted up the skin and isolated all these concrete masses. And then took that orthopedic saw and just took out the central 2/3 of the mass, leaving the bottom part along the nerves intact, leaving the top part along the skin with the blood supply intact, and then just closed it and then sewed it up. And sure enough, it worked. And it was like, okay. And I think she had 14 different doctors before me turn her down and say, don't do this because you're going to wake up Pandora's box and it's going to be a disaster. And it ended up working.
Wow. And now she's living a great life because of you.
It's funny. Her name is Raji, Rajee. Anybody could Google her and see her before and after and see what happened to her. But yeah, she lives a pretty normal life now because of that.
So I know that you also have a few celebrities, or you've had famous people come to see you as well, right? I know you probably can't name any names, but
Well, it's interesting. Obviously, you're not, unless a patient gives you permission, you're not allowed to name them legally. But I try, celebrities are tricky because if you're successful in their operation, they're not going to tell anybody. If you have a problem, a complication, and everybody finds out, it could be devastating to your reputation
Yeah.
and career. So I'm not really someone who's very interested in operating in celebrities. There's a lot of good plastic surgeons. Now, if a celebrity had a big problem with their plastic surgery, and I do have special skills, obviously, because my experience on Botch has taught me how to fix problem plastic surgery. Then if it was a really difficult problem and I felt my unique experience would lend them the better opportunity for success, then I might take on a celebrity. But in general, I avoid celebrities like the plague because
Yeah.
they don't, I mean, there's a million great plastic surgeons in Beverly Hills and Newport Beach. They can go to someone else and have all that. And unless they really need my help, I sort of pass on celebrities.
Has that happened before where a celebrity has actually come to you and said, "Hey, Terry, can you help me with my situation here?"
I had an Academy Award winner come into my office. I've had several Academy Award winners come into my office. I had one just the other day, but I had an Academy Award winner come to my office who just wanted a simple facelift. And I said, nope, no way. I said, first of all, I'm specially experienced in fixing problems. Your problem is easy. You just need to have your face tightened a little bit. And I just I don't think it's worth the risk to operate on celebrity, because let's say lightning strikes, and the thing about plastic surgery is a lot of people think it's like having your hair and nails done, but it's surgery, and it's as serious as any other kind of surgery. And so things can go wrong, and they do. And by the way, I've had complications. I've had malpractice lawsuits. I've had everything. I mean, I'm a high risk plastic surgeon. So I treat it with great respect. And I think for me, in my world, I have fixed celebrities' problems. And if they have a unique problem, I will, and I have done that. But I pretty much what I do is when a celebrity comes in to see me, I give them great advice, because everybody wants to operate on a celebrity because they want to get famous and be known potentially for doing that celebrity. I don't need that. I'm good. All right. So I think it's my job when a celebrity comes in is to give them the real truth about what their goals are, what their expectations are, what are the chances they'll have a complication, and what they can really expect. That's what I sort of bring to the table when I meet a celebrity if they want to come meet me. But I generally just won't work on them.
Joan Rivers wasn't one of your clients by chance, was she? I know she had
Joan
more.
Rivers was not. Joan Rivers was not one of my clients, but her plastic surgery was successful. She didn't
Yeah.
have any complications. She talked a lot about it. By the way, when you go back and look at some of her comedy routines about plastic surgery, I happen to see, you see on TikTok and the
Yeah.
Yahoo
Yeah.
Shorts or whatever, that hypnotic thing we'll sometimes do when we're sitting around doing nothing, just spin, whatever that thing is. She was hilarious the way she talked about plastic surgery. And my wife and I, Heather, know her daughter, Melissa, who's
Melissa, yeah. We've
hilarious
had
as
Melissa
well.
on
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. She's hilarious. She's awesome. But yeah, Joan had good plastic surgery.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I think she's been through a lot of plastic surgeries, and you can definitely tell. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could tell, but I thought it was all very successful. I don't think she had any problems with it. And at the end of the day, she had a lot of plastic surgery, I think, because she was happy with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And going to your brother, is Kevin Dubrow from Quiet Riot. Before you got into plastic surgery, was the original dream for you being in music like him?
No, no, no. I have no musical talent, and it's so pathetic. I can't even dance. My brother and I.
Oh,
It's interesting. He became a rock star, but we grew up in the Valley in a small. First we lived in LA with a divorced mom, a single mom, who raised us, and we grew up in a small bedroom together. He was 3 years older than me. He's passed away now, but he's 3 years older than me, and he was a very loud influence in my life, not necessarily in a positive way. But my brother and I, even though we have a very similar face, we couldn't have been more opposite. I was very studious and very into athletics, and he was not into school at all, having dropped out of high school, although he was really quite smart. And he was into music. So we looked the same, although he was taller, I was shorter and stockier, but we were completely different personalities. I'm kind of more of a gentle soul, very silly. He was super intense. And but we both had the same one burning thing that made us similar, which we both were just born with intense passion. We're very, very passionate people, and I really wanted to be a doctor, and he really wanted to be a rock star, and so we ended up doing our thing.
Yeah, yeah, very successfully. I'll say on both ends. Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah, he did really well.
So how did Kevin pass away?
He unfortunately he took a little bit of everything. It's called polypharmacy. Okay. He um he had a little bit to drink one night. Boy, he had a little bit to drink one night. I think he took a sleeping pill. He might have had a little cocaine. And after the age of 50, you really can't mix things. It's a way a lot of famous people end up dying over the age of 50. So I think it's the same way Heath Ledger died, same way a lot of celebrities die. He just had a little bit of everything, and I'm getting paged like crazy. Sorry from a patient, but
Oh, no worries. No worries.
no, it's okay. It's okay. So he he died in his sleep. Yeah.
Hmm. Wow. That's kind of the best way to go out, I guess, if you're going to go out. It's in your
I
sleep.
guess he was fit. He was only 52. He was very healthy. I spoke to the coroner, and he didn't have any toxic levels of any drugs, just a little bit of several drugs, and that stopped his heart, unfortunately.
Did you guys try to say, hey, Kevin, you're getting on the brink of death here. You're going a little too extreme here.
Well, when he was in his 20s and he had a number one album in the 80s, he was very into cocaine and very on the edge. But by the time he was sort of 40, 50, he just did a little bit of light recreational use. He was super healthy. He had no diseases of any kind. He he was healthy, and it's I don't do any of that stuff, but a lot of people do a little bit of Valium, a little bit of Coke, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And so there was no evidence that he had a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So speaking of life and death situations, you had your own health scare. I think it was this year. I think it was.
I did a few months ago. I was at a restaurant with my wife and I started slurring my words. And my wife was very concerned that I was having a stroke, and it only lasted a few seconds. And what ended up happening is I went to the emergency room, and sure enough, I'd had a little mini stroke. It's called a TIA, and it was not due to the usual things that you get a stroke from, which is blockage in the arteries that supply your brain. It was due to a hole in my heart that I was born with that I didn't know about, and a little blood clot passed from the right to left side of my heart into my brain. And we identified that. And then a cardiologist ended up closing it through my groin, 11-minute procedure. And that was the end of it.
And so you're feeling fine now. Everything's good. And
Yeah, no. And I'm not even at risk for having that happen again because now the hole is closed. We're all born with a hole in our heart between our right and left side of the heart to bypass the lungs. Because when you're in your mom's stomach, you're not breathing air. So your mom oxygenates the blood for you. So what happens is you send oxygenated blood bypassing your lungs from the right to your left side of your heart through a hole called a PFO, patent foramen ovale. But as soon as you take your first breath, that closes. And then it then allows the blood, instead of bypassing your lungs, to go to your lungs to be oxygenated and come back to the left side of your heart. Well, in about 30% of people, it doesn't close. And if it doesn't close, you have a little opening. Most people don't have a problem from it. But in some people, you can get a little problem from it. And that's why young celebrities sometimes will have stroke symptoms due to this problem.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, as you were describing that, I did not know that, but that sounds yeah, that makes sense. But so talking about a podcast, you're also a podcaster yourself, Doctor and Miss Guinea Pig. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's about?
So Heather and I have done a podcast called Dr. and Miss Guinea Pig, where we talk about the latest health and wellness related things. And we talk about our experiences with them, both as a physician and as a patient. Heather's the guinea pig. And so, a lot of stuff comes out. People try it. They think it's amazing. And, but we try to sort of give the real truth about these new things. And obviously think the thing that everyone's obsessed with now are these miracle weight loss drugs.
Oh, yes.
Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy. That's the biggest news in health and wellness right now.
You also have something else called the Dubrow diet.
So the Dubrow diet was a diet that we came up with, which is intensely science-based, that is based on a variant of intermittent fasting. Heather and I are very big fans of intermittent fasting. And with intermittent fasting, the thing we like about it so much is that when you're not eating, your body goes into a sort of a self-recovery mode where it cleans itself up, okay? And if it's the problem with intermittent fasting is it can be difficult to sustain because you're not eating for many hours, usually 18 on, off food, and 16 on, 6 on. But we have figured out a way that you can have certain amount of food and calories and still stay in the fasting state. So that's the Dubrow diet. We have these foods you can eat during the fasting periods that are low calorie, but keep you into that keto state so that you're really taking out the trash, you're doing cellular regeneration, and it's a much more sustainable version of intermittent fasting and ketogenesis at the same time.
About 4 years ago, I did the intermittent fasting and lost about 100 pounds myself. And
wow.
yeah, absolutely. So
don't you love it?
Didn't
you love it?
Oh, absolutely. I love intermittent fasting. Yeah. I stopped eating after 6 o'clock, like right when it went from 5:59 to 6 o'clock, no more eating, just drinking water, and that's it.
Yeah. Once you get used to it, it feels good, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, that plus exercising. Yeah.
The best. I love it.
People kept telling me, I think you lost too much weight, Mike. No, not really.
Yeah, right? I know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Terry, I want to thank you so much for coming on to the program. You can catch Terry on Botched season 8. It's at 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah, 10 o'clock Thursday nights on E.
10 o'clock Thursday nights on E. And Terry, I thank you so much for your time, sir.
It's my pleasure. It was great to meet you. Take care of
Please say
yourself.
hi to Paul for me, will you?
I will. I absolutely
Yes, sir.
will. Take
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.